everyone, Peta Hewitt, la-artistino. Welcome to the fourth instalment of the series of how to colour the grasshopper in Hanna Karlzon's colouring book, Sommarnatt. There have been 3 parts to this tutorial already. The first one showed you how to plan your colours and choose them. The second one we coloured the flowers. The third one we coloured the background. And today we're going to work on the leaves and start working on our grasshopper. Now I've been playing around, as you can see down here, with colour combinations so I can get a nice one for us to colour the leaves with. And the colours I've chosen to do that with, sticking somewhat with the original palette, is dark phthalo in Polychromas pencils, of course, a May green, which is a very light green, sort of more yellow warm tones. I've got light phthalo green, and I have the deep cobalt green. And for the stems, I'm going to use a combination of the sanguine and the phthalo green. So we're still sticking more or less with the original colour scheme, but we're throwing in the May green just to warm it up a bit and give it a bit more interest. Now I'll start with the leaves here in the middle, and I'll do 1 or 2 talking you through it, and then we'll speed through the rest. Okay, here we go, and we'll start with this nice big one here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Now I'm going to start with the dark phthalo green, and I will be giving a little bit of colour around the tip here and around the edges of the leaf, and sort of making a little bit more colour down here at the base. And I'll be leaving this centre vein alone because we're going to colour them in similar colours as to what we're colouring the stem. Okay, so I'll begin just by pressing a bit of colour, making sure you've got a nice sharp pencil there, pressing a bit of colour around the outside and blending it in a little bit towards the centre. So it's only a very small margin that you're doing. You can see I'm only sort of going about 1/3 of the way towards the stem. Just bleeding it in a little bit and making it a bit more concentrated and darker around the outside. A bit difficult this, because I like to keep the book looking straight on for you to make it easier for you to orientate with the book. But with me, I would be sort of pulling it closer and twisting it round to one side to colour in. So I'm sort of colouring it at an awkward angle for me. I've got a little bit of a, I don't know what happened there, a little bit of a dint in my paper that's taking the colour rather darkly. But in the overall scheme of things, I don't think it's going to make much difference. I'm not going to worry about trying to get rid of it in case I damage the paper more. There we go. I don't think you're going to notice it too much when it's finished anyway. Okay, so we went in about halfway actually towards the vein. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little bit. I was just thinking I might add just a little touch of the dark phthalo green down the actual vein itself, just to give the vein a bit of shadow. There we go. That's better. Now I'm on track. Here we go. And down this side as well. I think this will give it a nicer effect. So you've still got a little bit of white showing there. Now we'll move to the May green, and with that I'll be colouring the centre. As you can see, that's popping out quite nicely, that colour. Gives it a bit more life, a warm colour in contrast with the cool. Okay, now I'm going to use my light phthalo green just to blend it in a little bit. Not too much. shouldn't need very much blending actually. If you feathered out the dark phthalo green to start off with, it should sort of very smoothly go into the May green. Now I'll finish it off by using the deep cobalt green, which is very dark green, and I'm just going to put a bit of that on the tip here. These leaves are very thin, so there's not terribly much room to work here, but you can still make it work. Just make sure your pencils are nice and pointy. There we go. There, that's one. Now the stem, we're going to use a combination of the sanguine and the phthalo green, and I may even pull in some cream just to help blend the two together. Now with this, we're going to start with a little bit of the sanguine in the centre. To make the leaf look more interesting. The phthalo green towards the edges. Just mix it in a little bit. A little bit more sanguine over the bit where you put the phthalo green. There we go. That's given the sanguine just a little bit of, you know, interest. It goes lighter in the centre where you've just got the sanguine green, and where you've got the combination of sanguine sandwiching a layer of the phthalo green, you've got it a bit darker. It just makes the leaf, the passage of the leaf, look a little bit more interesting. Like there's a light spot in the middle and it's darker at both ends. I may even grab my poor little ivory here. I was thinking of the cream or the ivory. I might actually go the ivory. So this is the ivory Faber Castell pencil. What little stub of it I have. I've been sent by a kind listener a brand new one, which I will replace this one with. Okay, that's better. I like that. Just rubbed in a little bit. Okay, great. That's what we're going to do for all of our leaves. Right, once again, we will start off with the dark phthalo green. I'll do on this leaf because it's a nice big one, so you can see what I'm doing. Colour in the tip. Don't use much pressure. If your pencil's nice and sharp, you won't need much pressure at all to get the colour to come out. And down that middle vein bit, just a little line there. And again down the other side of the vein. In the tip and round the outside of the leaf, and then just a little bit of blending around so that it goes softly into that white area waiting for the May green. There we go. Okay, now we'll add the May green. Just lightly. You want it nice and bright, this area. Just colour over the top of the deep phthalo green a little bit so that it's blended in. There we go. I've done this one a little bit lighter than that one just for variation. Okay. I'll just grab my dark phthalo green again and just push in a little bit more colour and depth into the outside. Now I'll blend it in with the light phthalo green. Won't take much blending. Right, I'll actually, you know what, I'll actually use the ivory there to flatten that out, just the centre bit. Yeah. A little bit more. This is me being fussy. I'm just going to put a little bit more of the May green in there. There, happy with that. Now I will grab my deep cobalt and go to colour in that tip to make it nice and dark. Just extend that out a little bit down the side of each side of the leaf and down at the base of the leaf as well. Okay, now we need our sanguine. Pop that in the centre and just softening out to the sides. Then the phthalo green, either end, just lightly, not too heavy at all. Just let your pencil whisper across the paper there. And then go over the top a little bit more hard, using a bit more pressure with your sanguine. So what you've got is like the sanguine going into the darker areas, sort of darkening as it goes in. And finally, a little touch of ivory over the top. There you go. Right, now I'll continue with all the other leaves and I'll let you continue, and then when we get back we'll do the stems. Okay, that's our little leaves done. As you can see, I always miss one. I've just realised when I finished all the ones down the bottom that I haven't done that one. So that's done now. I think we'll continue on and do the stem. And I'd like to stick with the colours that we've already established with the veins of the leaves. So it's going to be the sanguine, the phthalo green, and little touches here and there of the ivory. Just to give some light spots and some interest, I think. So I'll start off with the sanguine, and we'll go right from the top of this one down here. I'm going to make the parts underneath the grasshopper a little more in shadow to suggest that he's throwing a bit of a shadow over it, and the ones heading down to the actual flowers a little lighter as I go. Okay, so we'll start off with a light coating of the sanguine up here. To use the green on it in places because the sanguine is fairly similar in colour to the orange, and it kind of gets lost in the orange there. Going underneath the caterpillar. Oh, I keep calling him a caterpillar. I'm going underneath the grasshopper. The thing's going to get a complex. And all the way down to the bottom. Just a little bit going to the flower, making it a little bit lighter as you approach the flower. And same here. Underneath the caterpillar I want a bit of shade, so I'm going to use phthalo, just the same way as we use them on the tips of the leaf veins. So underneath here we will add a little bit of the green. I can hear somebody moving around out there. It's alright. Let's break it up a little bit. I'm going to go down here to where his feet are. And that will look like he's casting a bit of a shadow on the stem that he's hanging onto. A little bit of a shadow down here. And that green will also, as you can see, bring it out from the orange where it's a bit hidden. Probably down here at the base. Here I'll put a little bit more. Make sure you get right to the edges with this. Just go back and neaten it all up. Just going to add a tiny thin coat over the top here. It's only a thin coat of the phthalo green that I'm adding there, because I'm going to go over the top again with the sanguine. Actually, you know what? As we head to the flowers, I'm just going to put in the sap green. There. So this is the, sorry, not the sap green, this is the May green pencil right there. Again, just a little bit of it. Right, now we'll go over the whole thing again with the sanguine. Just a little bit softly at the tips as it's going into the sap. Was it the May green? Heading down to sandwich that phthalo green there. And as you can see, the phthalo green has, you've still got a brown looking twig, but the phthalo green has brought it out from the orange background, so it isn't lost in the orange background. Now I'll take the ivory and just at where the flowers begin, I'll push in a little bit of lighter colour just to smooth out that May green. Okay, we'll do the next stem. So I'll do that one right at top first. Okay, that's just a little one. Remember, we start with the sanguine first. Little bit of sap there where the base of the May, sorry, not sap. I think of this green as being a sap green from my watercolour sets. So it's not in this set, the Polychromas. It's a sap green. It's a May green. Oh goodness, I'll never get it right, will I? Okay, now with the phthalo green, we'll just knock in a little bit of shadow here behind this flower, then leave a little gap and then put a little bit of shadow here where it disappears off the page. And back to the sanguine. I do apologise for the rumbling next door, they've been rather active and they're revving the engine of the car. I might just add a little bit more of the phthalo green here because I think the little twig gets lost in the background colour. There we go. That's brought it all out. And a little ivory up the top to complete it there. Okay, that's good. We'll go down the bottom and do the rest of them down here. Okay, that's our stems done. Now we've got to do the little bases of the flowers here. Now what I'm going to do with those is I'll just have right in the little centre bits will be quite dark, so I'm going to go for the dark phthalo. So now, if you just see there, we go, that's better. I'm just putting a little tip right at the base of each of those unfolded petals, little covering leaf things that fold around the flower while it's developing. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my May green and colour in the rest. Need to darken the base of that further, I'll just put in a tiny touch of a very sharp deep cobalt green just right at the tips, and then I'll take my ivory and lighten just the tips at the other end. There we go. Okay, so again we start with the dark phthalo there. You can see I've already done that. Then the May green for the rest. Then the deep cobalt for just the tiny little base of each of those leaf petals, those covering petals, and the ivory for the tips. There you go. We'll go ahead and we'll do the rest of them. I think that'll do for now. We've got our leaves coloured, the stems coloured, and the little bases of the flowers coloured. All that's left next to do is Mr. Grasshopper himself, and I think we'll leave that till the next video. I hope you're having fun with whatever art or colouring adventure you're currently on. Until next time, happy colouring! hope you're enjoying any colouring adventures that you are currently on, and until next time, happy colouring!